Okay.
All right, we are live. Good evening. This is Attorney Vincent Davis, and this is The Secret, How to Fight CPS and Win. And I'm joined by a very special guest, Cassie Metz. Cassie, hello, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. I have to give a shout out to someone, Cassie, to Tabitha Kason. Tabitha is a new member of my YouTube channel, and she is designated, members are designated with the green background. Um, Tabitha, I want to welcome you as a member, and hopefully, you're going to get some benefit out of being a member of my YouTube channel. So, hello and good evening to Tabitha. Okay, Miss Cassie, we tried last night, we were having some problems, so we're back tonight, and we're just going to start over, um, you know, as if we've never met you before.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So, tell me again, what state are you in?
California. I'm in California.
Okay. And so you've had some interaction with CPS in the past?
We actually just got 2 cases closed in 2022.
Well, tell me about how you got involved with CPS.
Of course. So, I had a domestic violent relationship with my ex abuser, who's my oldest daughter's father. The younger 4 children have a different dad, the same dad, but a different dad than my oldest. And what happened is I jumped from one domestic violent relationship to another, and we all kind of did need intervention and help in the domestic violent department not to expose our kids to these things. I don't think it should have been taken to the extent of removal. We definitely could have had done these services with our children home, and still kept a safe and secure environment for them in the home. But my oldest daughter was specifically, it started with her, where we were in a custody battle from 2018 to 2020. And he and I were in a very high conflict custody battle. So the judge took away our parenting rights basically and gave it to CPS's hands, threw it in their lap, and they decided to detain my oldest daughter. She was detained from August 2020 to May of 2022. And she was in my aunt and uncle's care for that long. And she wound up going back to her dad's custody, not mine, but her dad's custody, in August of 2021. So she was detained for an entire year away from both of us, but she continued to be detained from me for far longer, even though I was the victim of domestic violence. And in that case, my supervised visits never changed out of supervised visits. So I actually did everything they asked me to do. I have no problems with drugs. I have no problem being the perpetrator. I have no criminal record. I was doing everything they asked me to do. I completed a 52-week domestic violence course for a victim. I completed over a year's worth of therapy, and I resolved my PTSD and my OCD personality traits. I also was in 3 different parenting classes. One was 6 weeks, one was 8 weeks, one was 4 weeks. I completed all 3 of them. I also went to a co-parenting class twice, a 6-week program and then a 12-week program, and I completed both of those. And then I was required to see whoever they threw at me. Like, wanted me to go see a psychiatrist. They wanted me to see a psychologist. And I went and saw them. They did get upset with me in that case because I refused to see their said therapist, who was a nurse practitioner. And the reason for that is because she had came up with some outrageous diagnoses that I've never been diagnosed with before. I've been seeing a psychiatrist and a therapist since I was 16 years old. I think they would have caught if I had any of these outrageous diagnoses. She tried to say that I scored a 33 out of a 30 on the hair psychopathology checklist, trying to say I was a psychopath and because of manipulation. But really, I was just trying to tell my story, and I had proof of the facts, and she just took that as manipulation. So a different county, the secondary county that case that started with my younger two daughters, they saw that result, obviously, and they sent me to their psychologist. And their psychologist is a criminal psychologist, one who works in the jails and does work in prison settings and has worked with actual criminals. And he's like, I scored a 12, maybe 14 on the hair psychopath checklist. And then they said that that he can see that somebody else could take my actions as manipulation, but really it was my attempt to control the situation because I've had so much trauma in my life that I was actually just trying to control my life and those and things around me. And he explained the whole entire thing. He said even with a person who doesn't have any childhood background, they will score maybe a 5 or a 6 on that checklist. So for me scoring so low, I obviously don't have a problem in that department. And my public defender took that checklist or took that report, put it into the first case. And the judge kind of like glanced over it, told them to work with me. But there had been several times throughout the case that they did an emergency hearing trying to take away visits from me. They went to the court asking for visits to be canceled and for services to be discontinued, even though I was constantly engaged with services and in supervised visits. In my supervised visitation logs, I was accused from their psychiatrist, whose office had accused me of being a psychopath. I did report them to the medical board because I didn't sign a release of information for them to disclose anything.
How did they diagnose you as a sociopath? I mean, what did they give you that proved to them somehow that you're a sociopath?
They gave me nothing. They just went off of evaluation.
Exactly. But whose evaluation? The social worker, right?
Yeah, of their evaluation.
Go on. I just wanted to make a point. Go on.
Yeah. And then we did some research after I reported the nurse practitioner for this, and the person called me back and said that she's not trained to do that test on me. And you have to be trained to do that test. And on top of that, she's not a psychologist, so what was she doing performing that test? And then, and I was like, yeah, that's the point. But it's already in the court papers. And the psychiatrist, who's under her, had seen me a few times prior and then said he couldn't see me because it was a conflict of interest because he was seeing my ex-abuser. And then after 8 months of seeing my ex-abuser, he started to treat my daughter. And I had already reported his office by the time that my daughter became his client. And then he just went from saying I have certain issues. He said, first of all, he wrote the dates I saw him, right? And then all of a sudden, 15 months later, after not seeing him, he had seen me 7+ times and done 7+ hours with me. And that's not true because I only seen him 3 times. Mm-hmm. That's 3 hours, 2 hours and 50 minutes. Mm-hmm. And then he went from saying I had a high functioning bipolar, PTSD, and personality B traits to I'm a psychopath in this. And then on top of that, me and my daughter were seeing a therapist together for my supervised visits at some point because they said that visits were detrimental to her, which, by the way, my visits weren't. You could see through all my visits that they were not. They were actually very positive. And the psychiatrist had gone and told the court that I was manipulating my daughter and telling her things like to love her abuser and that her abuser just wants to, just needed to be medicated. Mm-hmm. And I never said any of these things. I was in supervised visits. If I said these things, it would have been documented, and it wasn't. And the psychiatrist was saying these things, and I had actually been accused from my ex-abuser in the past of doing these things and saying these things, and he was treating my ex-abuser. So the psychiatrist was just repeating what my abuser was saying as facts in these court reports, and CPS was presenting them as facts in these court reports.
Mm-hmm.
And so I began to get frustrated. My public defender wouldn't put in my supervised visitation logs like I asked her to. She wouldn't go to trial like I asked her to fight for my stance to get my daughter home. And that case, like I said last night, ended with me having no contact with my daughter at all, no visits. And that's what I finally filed for that to be changed, for her to come back in my custody and to show them all of the evidence that CPS left out, on top of all the progress I've made since then. But it's going to be a really long uphill battle because I got to bring up so much things in family court now. And then it's saddening. It's just saddening, really. I don't know what to do, because where to start. I have to prove that what the psychiatrist said was false. I have to prove the diagnosis was false. I have to prove that my visits weren't detrimental to my daughter. I have to prove I literally have to bring in all the reports that CPS hid from the judge. And do you know how much paperwork that is? That's over 300 pages that the CPS worker hid from the judge. And I have to go print all of that to present all of that just to get my daughter home. It's just a huge mess. And then outside of that, I get to my other case in Northern California. We went from the two younger children were detained from November of 2020 to May of 2022. And May is when they transitioned home officially. And we just got our case closed November of 2022. And the judge told us that we had a glowing report, that she's never ever in her entire line of working with CPS has seen something so positive about parents. There's always something negative in these reports, but no, there was.
Did you get a new social worker?
We did get a new social worker in the secondary case.
Surprise, surprise.
But we got a new social worker in the secondary case because of the fact that we hired an attorney in that one. So what happened is the first from November 2020 to December 2021, they were not moving us out of unsupervised visits. They refused to move forward with us. And when they did move forward with us, we only got a couple hours, and then we backtracked, and then they said they wanted to terminate our parental rights instead of giving our kids back. And then they also wanted to detain my son, who they never detained from birth. I had him from May 27th, when he was born, 2021, all the way to, well, I've had him the whole time. He was never detained. He was never a part of the case in any way. And that is when they should have given me and my husband back our other two children, is when they decided to keep my son in my custody. The kids should have been home too. But instead of doing that, they tried to find reasons to take my son, to the point where that social worker was showing at my house randomly after 5 p.m. to try and see if we were slipping up, to try and see if we were leaving him alone with his dad, or if we were doing drugs, which we never had that problem. Drugs wasn't a problem in my case for me. The social worker was harassing us, and so I did complain about it. And we had a CFT meeting in that second county. And in that second county, everybody, including our service providers, was vouching for us, and the only one that had negative things to say about us was that social worker. So I sent that to the Board of Supervisors in my county, and the next thing you know, she doesn't work there anymore. So, I mean, that's when we got a new social worker, and when everything started flowing for us. And we also hired an attorney instead of using their public defender, because the public defenders weren't doing their job. And we could only afford an attorney for one of the two cases, and we chose that one because my oldest was already with family. So we felt she was a little more safe compared to my younger two. Were not placed with family, didn't even get the option to go to family, and were in foster care. So we chose the attorney for that case because we thought it was a little more, a little more dangerous to take risks with that one.
I don't want to ask you your attorney's name because we don't have the permission to put his name out there or her name out there. But
Right.
I want to ask you something, because people ask me this all the time, and I don't know what to say. And the question is, in your experience, did you do better with a court-appointed attorney or a private attorney?
Private. I did better with a private attorney because the court-appointed attorneys refuse to absolutely do the bare minimum for you, and they don't even do that. And they're not going to prove your case for you. They're probably, and I think it has a lot more to do with the fact that they're overworked and they have way too many cases and clients, or they believe the accusations against you and just really don't want to do their job and help you get your kids back. They feel like the kids are better off without you. And I do feel like public defenders are against you from the beginning.
Why do you say that?
Because in both my cases, my public defender in the first case with my oldest daughter, we had proof where my daughter was saying there was abuse happening in both of my home and her dad's home, where she would say she was more scared of her dad's home but couldn't say why, but that her stepdad broke the door, broke the window, and choked me. But there was literal police reports of stepmom and the biological dad saying that the police officer witnessed the broken door of glass shattered everywhere at dad's house. But my daughter had said it was stepdad that broke the door when it was her biological dad that did. She was confusing her dad and her stepdad and mixing it up. And we were being accused of things happening in his home. And there was actual document evidence between the stepmom putting it in a police report seeing it, the police arresting the biological dad, along with the stepmom also filed a restraining order and wrote it out in a court document. There was a lot of things lined up, and my attorney could have used all of that evidence to get my daughter placed back at home with me.
And what happened? She didn't use it?
She didn't. She just told me to she told me to settle with the accusations because this is how my daughter feels. And I should respect what my daughter feels. And I need to show CPS that I respect how my daughter feels. So to take on the accusations, even if they're not true. That's what her advice was. And so I did. And it really, really nailed me from the beginning.
How old was your child, the one that said that?
She was 6 at the time when they interviewed her.
Right. That happens to so many cases, by the way. And they end up giving the child to the abuser, the father.
That's what they did in my case.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot more involved when it comes to your therapist and, the psychiatrist, whatever. As you guys all know, the 1997 Act from Bill Clinton offered cash bonuses, right, for the children to be placed, taken from a home, placed in a non-family member home, foster home, preferably, yeah. Right? But oftentimes, the ones that benefit, and actually Nancy Schaefer said that in one of her, one of her shows before she died, she said the ones that benefit from all this, the incentives are the social workers, children therapists, the children's psychiatrists, guardian ad litem, CPS investigators, judges, foster parents, adoptive foster parents, and again, I'm going to repeat, children's psychiatrists. Believe it or not, they make a lot of money from this. And they have to side with the courts because it's job security. Even Nancy Schaefer said it's all of them are looking at children in state custody to provide job security. All of them. It's all about job security. But how they diagnose someone without really sending them to a psychiatrist, I blame that on your attorney.
Yeah, I did tell my attorney that it was a conflict of interest and ethical. It was a breach of ethical because of the fact that not only did the psychiatrist see me a few times, then stopped because it was a conflict of interest to see my ex-abuser and me at the same time. He
Mhm.
treated my ex-abuser for 8 months and then started to treat my daughter. That should never have occurred. He should not have been my daughter's treating psychiatrist when he already formed a bias to my ex-abuser.
Mhm.
And on top of that, he also lied about my mental health. And he, in his own reports to the court, he contradicts his own statements.
Did you file a complaint with the Board of Psychology in California?
Mhm.
I did file, I filed, they told me to go to California Medical Board. So
Okay.
that's what I did. But I do plan on filing another complaint because the medical board didn't open a case or do anything about it. They said that I have to go to court to prove these things and then they can open a case against the psychiatrist. And I have no idea even where to start with that one.
Did you ever think about suing him?
I do want to sue him, and I am trying to find an attorney to help me sue him. Yeah.
What do you think, Mr. Davis?
Sounds like a great case.
I would like to speak with her, if you don't mind.
Not at all. Not at all.
Is there any way you can email me? Email
Yes.
me your full name, because
Yes.
people think I know their names by just their email address. Email me your full name and
Okay.
your cell number,
Okay.
and I'm gonna definitely give you a call back tonight if you want to. I mean, I work
Yeah.
late, so I work until maybe tonight. I have about 8 appointments, so
Yeah.
phone appointments, that is. So I can call you
Okay.
tonight. Okay.
Yeah,
so
that would be great. We are looking to sue both counties too because there was a lot of things wrong with the first county. The first county, they withheld so much information. There's no way that's legal.
what county was this, if you don't mind me asking?
Nevada County.
So the civil suit is in Nevada County?
I'm going to be suing Nevada County and Sutter County, yeah, because they violated different rights in different ways.
Talking about the psychiatrist.
The psychiatrist, he's in Placer County, I believe, in Auburn, California. But I think I'm gonna have to put that suit in Sac County
What?
because
Okay.
we're not really sure because I live in Sutter County. I was seeing him in Placer County, but the case was in Nevada County.
Oh.
So it's very complicated where that jurisdiction would lie.
Mhm.
So I was thinking Sac County since it's a center based between all of us. No?
The venue for a case is generally where the defendant lives.
So Placer County.
Mm.
Defendant. The defendant.
So the defendant would be the psychiatrist.
Correct. If he lives. Now, I gave you the general rule. It could also lie where the wrongdoing took place.
Mm-hmm.
So if that was Nevada County, you might want to file in Nevada County, and then you'd have to, move it. The place for a lawsuit, where to file your lawsuit, the county and the courthouse and all that, whether it's federal or state, it's a very sophisticated and complicated analysis. It's more than just, what we're talking about here. So if you ever get really serious, or if you want our help, definitely let Miss G know, and she'll connect me in when it's appropriate.
Yes, I do. We are looking for that, and we are saving fundings exactly to hire that because we do 100% plan on suing the psychiatrist in both counties.
I actually want to sue the psychiatrist for you.
He made a really huge thing. It was his recommendation. So the Nevada County actually put in that I had graduated my 52-week child abuse, or not child abuse, domestic violence class.
Mhm.
Along with, they put in that I was doing extremely well in therapy. I almost was too close to graduating therapy. I graduated my co-parenting classes. I graduated my parenting classes. But even though I did all these things and I was doing so well, the supervised visits went well, everything checked out perfectly on my end. The psychiatrist said it was detrimental for my daughter to have contact with me, and I was the reason for her outrageous behaviors in school. even though I was in supervised visits for 1 hour a week.
How long was that supervised visits?
1 hour a week.
How long?
Oh,
Month, 2, 3, 4, 5?
for 5 months before the case ended.
There
Hey,
you go.
Cassie, let me ask you something. When the psychiatrist made that statement, had he actually met with you or met with the child?
Together? No, never.
No, he didn't. That's why. Yeah.
Did he ever? But did he ever talk to the child, like in a session or something?
Yeah, he talked to her at a session in July of 2020 or 2021, where she said that, well, he wasn't clear. He said that Mr. Law, which is my ex-abuser, had said that I was telling my daughter these things. And he reported that my daughter and the dad were saying I was saying these things.
Right. They always say that. They always make the mother the perpetrator without any evidence.
Yeah.
It's hearsay. It's all about hearsay. But in fact, the child didn't even say that. They put those words in the child's mouth. I'll give you an example. There's a case where the woman had a dog named Molly, okay? And every time they would tell their other side of the family, Molly, 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 they're talking about the dog. But guess what they wrote down? They're talking about mom. Get it?
Yeah, I do. And
Yeah.
the saddest part isn't just that they accused me of doing this with no evidence or like anything to support their claims. Unfortunately, the judge takes everything CPS says as, fact. Like there's some guardian angels that can do no wrong and say no wrong and not mess up, right? And so everything that was reported from the psychiatrist was said as a fact in the case. And the judge would take it as a fact in the case because CPS was the one reporting it and the one backing him. My problem with this is that there was actual evidence and documentation in one of my visits towards the end of the case. It was in February of 2022, where my daughter came in with the stepmom, and the stepmom said in front of the supervised visitor that she doesn't want to visit me and she doesn't have to be forced to visit me, so she doesn't need to be there if she doesn't want to be, and that my daughter can pick and choose if she wants to see me or not. And they did let her pick and choose if she wants to see me or not for like the last maybe 10 months of our case. They did let her pick and choose the day she would see me or not. And the stepmom also told them that whenever she has a visit with me, she comes home and has these outrageous behaviors and she just doesn't want to deal with it, and that she's the one that has to deal with it, and it's not fair for her to have to deal with these behaviors. She said it all in front of my daughter to the supervisor. And the supervisor documented these statements. And CPS had that information but never put it in court. My daughter also went into one of her supervised visits with her dad before he moved to unsupervised visits. And in this supervised visit, she said, "When I get home, please don't scare me anymore." And CPS never put that in any court reports. And then, but it is in a documented supervised visit. It is literally written out. And then another thing, my daughter didn't talk about my home or her stepdad much in therapy at all for the first year of her life. She had a secondary therapy group that she was seeing for an entire year from August 2020 to August 2021. She said nothing about my home or the abuse that happened in it, really, except for maybe like a handful of times. And it was like, I think 3 or 4 times that she had mentioned it throughout the entire year. But the second that she was placed back in her dad's care, all of a sudden, and even started when she started having unsupervised visits with her dad, all of a sudden she started talking about things that she was never saying before when she was in my family's custody. Things that she wouldn't know because she's overhearing it. She's soaking it in and she's repeating it.
Right.
And I have proof of that because it was documented from her therapy group. And then on top of that, she started having, they tried to say that it was my fault she was having these behaviors. Her behaviors spiked up in school during a time I wasn't a part of her life. I was out of her life for 6 weeks.
Amen to that. I mean, not amen to that, but I'm just saying amen for you saying that, because
Yeah.
that is the God honest truth. And I say this a lot. The children show signs of withdrawal when they're away from their own mother. This
Yes.
happens to every child. Every child.
Yes.
Every child.
Yeah, and they tried to blame it on me.
Right. They always blame the mother. The mother is the root of everything to them. Everything.
Right.
But fathers, they get what they want.
They do.
The abusers get what they want. I'm not joking. I'm not saying every dad is an abuser. I'm just saying if the father is the abuser, they will definitely go with the father.
Yeah.
No joke. And the mother's going to be crazy. Even if the mother had a psychiatric report from 2 psychiatrists, over 35 years of experience, said there's nothing wrong with the mother, return the children to the mother immediately, and the father should be investigated, everybody will stop that report from being admissible into court. Everyone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Their children, the children, lawyer, the freaking everybody, even they will say that the psychiatrist is, both of them are biased. I've seen this shit happen, right? Even the mother nothing is wrong with the mother, but they will literally put her in a state of mind of insanity because she's thinking, what the, like, all these years I'm just been a great outstanding member of society, and all of a sudden my ex-husband didn't want to pay child support.
Right. And now this is all happening.
And then marries a district attorney who became a judge, and his aunt is a supervisor at the Department of Child Services, and his mother's an attorney, and you just think to yourself over and over and over again. And then you think your case is so different. But then when you really read and hear everybody else's story, they might not have the same connection he has, but they have the connection of just being a mother.
Yeah.
A mother. That's all. They attack the woman more than anything.
Right. They do.
Then when the children misbehave, they don't want to talk to the psychiatrist, or I'm sorry, their therapist, right? Then they say that it's the mother's fault. But that didn't happen before you took them away from the mom.
Right.
Hey, Miss Cassie.
Yes.
We're coming towards the end of the show. I want to thank you for coming on and sharing. I hope you saw those messages I sent you in the private chat. I really would like you to consider being a host of one of our shows and help Miss G and I change the world and change CPS. Okay?
Yes, I would love to. And I do have a lot of knowledge now, thanks to my obsessive researching, because I do have the OCD personality traits. I do have those. So, like, I obsessively researched during my case to see what laws were being violated, if this was normal. I would constantly watch your shows and do everything that you like. I would read your book. I watched your shows. I would call you and ask questions. I have I follow everybody that you guys are contacted with so that I could keep up to date on everything. I'm like constantly doing these researches because I'm just so sick and tired of what they get away with, and there is no reason for majority of this stuff to carry on the way it did. And I do feel me and my husband constantly look at our kids, and 2 years went by and they went from being our little babies, having pudgy faces. We missed my daughter's first steps. We missed her first words, her talking, all of these things that are so prominent to her development. And she formed the bond with the foster mom. And I do have a connection with the foster mom. She's a great foster mom. She did it from a second party agency. I do have contact with her. We do see her and hang around her, and she's amazing. She's not like any of the horror stories you see with the foster parents turning on you. She actually knows the corruption of CPS. She sent me a video of a mom getting a baby ripped out of her arms and police forcefully holding the mom down just because she was holding her baby. And she also sent me a video of a mom in the hospital having her baby taken from her in the hospital.
Mhm.
I'm going to give you a bit of advice. Take it or leave it. You're a grown woman.
Yeah.
You never trust a smiling face.
Right.
Okay? I don't
Yeah.
care how many videos she will send you. Do not trust a smiling face. I'm being
Right.
honest. This is just a tactic they use to get closer to you. It happens so many women. And then all of a sudden, towards the end, they turned against her.
Yeah, she's pretty busy. She has like 8 foster kids right now.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, Kathy. Well, thank you again. I hope to see you on one of our live streams. Thank you
Yes.
again.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Okay, Miss G, before we sign off officially, do you have any questions or comments you want to make this evening?
Yeah. So the shows are going to be 30 minutes every day because it used to be an hour.
45 minutes, Miss G.
Okay. It's only 7:36.
Right. You came on late, so we've been on a little bit longer than you thought. But we're going to reach the 45-minute stage after we get the Miss G rant. So I'm just, I'm planning ahead. You have questions or comments, Miss G? I'm going to give you your floor time.
Okay. All right. So if the mother loses her parental rights,
Hey,
does the
wait, hold
father?
on. Stacy, thank you. If the mother or father lose their parental rights, what?
Let me repeat myself. If the mother loses her parental rights, does the father automatically lose his?
No.
Hmm.
And as a matter of fact, in most cases, if not all, you can't terminate the the parent's rights if the child is placed with the other parent.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Somebody, I think Deidre asked that in the channel or in on YouTube this today. You're mean. I
she's,
thought she was asking a
she's
question.
backing me up. She's backing me up. Thank you, Deidre. I love you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So okay, so that's a little tidbit for your information.
Okay. And
Anything else?
does that okay. So because the reason I'm asking is because in Arizona, the mother lost her parental rights even though the father has custody of the children. In Arizona. I don't know
No.
if this is a
Yeah,
nationwide.
I'm not an Arizona guy, right? Licensed attorney, but in a CPS case, in California, I don't think that's possible. But here's something that can happen. Mother and father have a kid, and under the family code, mother moves to terminate the bio father's rights under the family code because father hasn't visited in a year, hasn't paid support in a year, or something like that. Serious felony. You can terminate the father's rights. And generally that's done when mom, is getting remarried and wants the new husband to adopt the child. But I'm not talking about that type of termination under the family code. I'm talking about termination in California under the Welfare and Institutions Code.
Wow. Okay, so if some that cannot happen in California, they cannot possibly happen in California. They cannot terminate one parent and not the other, or they cannot terminate one parent while the other one has custody of them.
Um, I don't. It depends. It depends.
Oh, I-
Okay.
uh, does that go for the grandparents too?
No, grandparents are a totally different thing.
Mm-hmm.
If the
But grandparents,
parental if the parental rights are terminated, the grandparents' rights are terminated automatically.
but they can fight to get visitations. Am I right?
They can and it depends on what court they're in. Is it the CPS court or is it the family court? It depends on the facts and circumstances. It's just not a bright line. Yes, you can do it. No, you can't do it. There's a lot of gray area in the law. And I know, Ms. G, you and a lot of people ask me, and you guys are looking for bright line answers.
Mhm.
And, I'm not bullshitting you. It's just, it's not a bright line answer. It's
No.
not go on green, stop on red. It's not that type of test.
Hmm. Well, yes, Reader. I don't like that answer. She knows my facial expression so well, Deidre.
I think
But
everybody does.
they should by now, right? Even do you know my facial expression, Mr. Davis?
No, I wasn't including myself in that.
No, you don't know, right? You
No,
have
of
no clue.
course not.
No,
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 I'm
I didn't think.
clueless. I'm clueless.
I figured. I figured. So now we're gonna come real quick, real quick. I just want you guys not to. It's easier said than done, and I get it. But don't be emotional because we have a client right now. She literally texts me every 15 minutes, 2 pages long text messages to let me know how concerned she is about her kids. Okay. I want you guys to understand. I know you're concerned. I get it. I know you love them. Who doesn't love their kids unless they're fucking sociopath? But what I'm trying to tell you is that you need to put on your thinking hat. You need to put your emotion aside. Please put it aside. Then when you focus on getting your kids back and you get them back, cry all you want. Cry all you want, scream all you want. Punch a wall. But right now, put on your thinking hat. Do everything possible to get your mind strong because social workers will mess with your mind. They will mess with you. They will make sure that you like literally fall. They want you to be broken. Do not give your enemy a chance to see you broken. So you need to literally find a way to get you together.
All
Family
right.
support, somebody, okay?
All right, Miss G. Well, thank you very much for co-hosting tonight. Um,
I don't
we
even know what
will
I
be.
am anymore.
I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, I don't know what I am, a co-host, a host. I don't know.
Thank you for being here in front of your camera with your nice lights on and back, and you know, got a good
You're
audio,
so
good
jealous
video
of
camera. Getting a good sharp picture on the stream. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Okay,
my.
so folks, thank you for watching this evening, and we'll see you tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Good night.